So we have here the solitaire game from White Dog called Don't Tread On Me, the American Revolution game where you play the British against the rebels. And just finished the first turn. The British and Americans fight in New England. On the first turn, it was an exchange, so the British units were wiped out. Also, the Americans were able to save a couple of units, but in their reinforcements, they got everything in there except for one unit down here in Carolina, which sparked another battle here. But the British won with the Loyalist unit there. And then the other funny thing happened on the end of the turn for random events. New England's loyalty went up 2, and one of their units deserted to Vermont. So it was kind of an interesting event that the loyalty, liberty goes up for New England being controlled by the Americans, but the loyalty went up due to the random events. So interesting little solitaire game. Very detailed sequence of play. Basically your turn is get money. The Americans put out smugglers, that helps reinforcements. Then the British Navy tries to take out the smugglers. And then the British do ground phase, which is skipped on the first turn, so I haven't done that yet. We went right to the first battle, and that has a long procedure. And then the rebels phase, and then you have the second battle after that was the battle we had in the Carolinas. And then rebels can conduct campaign, and they did it in New England, and since there was no British there, nothing really happened. And logistics phase, then you have the liberty phase, and then the random events, and then to the next turn. And so that's how this is going to be playing out every turn. And if victory is done by certain turns, if the liberty marker, which is now at 1, gets up to 9, it's an instant win for the American player. And if that doesn't occur on turn 16, will be the final turn, and you find out what happens. But on 14 or 15, if Lord North resigns and the liberty marker is at 7 or lower, the British player concedes, and it ends with a British marginal victory. If it's lower than 8, you keep going for the last 2 turns to see if you can do better, getting it lower. And so that's somewhat of a quick review of the game, and we'll see how it plays out. On to turn 2. So this is the end of turn 3. So they only have 1 smuggler up in Atlantic, and there's 3 here. The frigates came in after Boston was evacuated. The British controlling Carolina, and we some other Chesapeake. Virginia was interesting. They had a battle in turn 3, which the Committee of Safety fought a battle very weakly, but got a counterattacked and completely wiped out the British force with a roll of 6, and they lost 3 units in one go, some major units, which are now in the prisoner of war. The British countered in Pennsylvania, killed a committee of safety in the valley there, but it was an exchange, so they lost the Hessians, but also forced the Congress out of there. Washington is there. The rebels counterattacked in New York, got the Mohawks, fought a battle with them and won. And part of a major campaign, the loads of troops that were in New England came down to fight in Pennsylvania, and the British were at a 2-to-1 disadvantage, got a counterattack, and rolled a 6 like the rebels did against them and in Virginia, and completely wiped out the the rebel force. So that was a very swingy turn. Some of the events have been interesting. Units were removed. This white unit for India, yeah, kind of battles can be kind of swingy so far in this game with the weird die rolling. So on to turn 4. So this is the beginning of turn 6. Liberty is now up to level 5. Yeah. Loyalty for these states are up high. New England went up, but Virginia is quite low. So after a few battles, New England's contested. New York is still being held. Pennsylvania, but Virginia is contested a little bit, but Carolina is still being held by the British. We've been having some fights, losing some armies, but all the smugglers are now in play. And yeah, so things are kind of seesawing back and forth, but the Americans are taking up the Liberty bit by bit. So on to turn 6. So this is the start of turn 8. As you can see, Liberty's up to 6. All they needed to do is get up to 9. Yeah, the Americans win. The French are in the game, but the British are controlling basically everything but Pennsylvania. So the Americans got a lot of work to do, kind of losing out through attrition, other random die rolls that is really affecting the Americans this time. A few battles didn't go their way, allowing the British to maintain control, but the Liberty is ticking up because they're controlling the target states, which when they don't control it, automatically goes up. So the British need to get on the game on that one. And pretty much lots of smugglers. Smugglers have not been doing all that well to help out the Americans. They've been losing the naval battles, but due to some rolling, the British fleet has been halved. So see what happens on turn 8. So this is the end of turn 9. Liberty is up to level 7, so they're only 2 away. The Americans are not doing too well with their forces. The British are controlling everything, but the problem is they're sneaking in control on critical target states, and that's how they're earning their liberty up, because pretty much all the battles have been occurring. The British have been able to hold, but this last turn, because there's a lot of smugglers coming in now, reinforcements are coming through, but the Americans are losing a lot of their units. So the British are kind of holding on a little bit by a little bit, losing permanent losses here to events. So on to turn 10. So this is the end of the game on turn 11. Basically because the target was Carolina, and luckily for the Americans, not for the British, that they actually took control of Carolina, because they got their Committee of Safety unit, a bunch of reinforcements all came in. They actually got a major campaign in the state, so it got all reinforced really well by the luck of the die, and they pulled it through. But also they were to control of, the British lost control of Pennsylvania, New York, and New England. Last turn they got completely wiped out in New England, and also the last turn random events pulled off all white and blue units basically. So a lot of strength that was here got removed, and the Americans was able to take over for that. So win for the Americans, hitting 9. So that's game. Pretty cool little solitaire game.